It's a real story. They checked into Dracula's hostel, and what they encountered will shock you. Amidst the winding mountain roads that twisted like tendrils of smoke, four adventurous friends, Jack, Sarah, Mike, and Lisa, were en route to a weekend escape that had become a tradition in their tight-knit circle. The laughter played softly in the background as they cruised through the scenic landscapes, relishing the thrill of the road trip while exchanging tales of their past exploits. However, the banter faded into uneasy silence as night fell, shrouding the world in darkness and cool mountain air. Their gas tank was nearing empty, and Jack squinted at the dimly lit GPS that struggled to find a signal. "We should have filled up back in town. I didn't think we'd be this far out," he muttered, concern etched across his face. "We'll find something," Sarah reassured him, her voice steady, but uneasiness began to creep in. They kept driving, hoping for a beacon of civilization to guide them, until they stumbled upon a dilapidated sign creaking in the wind, Dracula's Hostel. "Are you kidding me?" Lisa burst out, her eyes alight with mischief. The sign swung slightly, its letters barely legible, and the charm of the hostel was akin to the warmth of a campfire amidst a snowstorm. "This has to be a joke. There's no way we can stay here." "Why not? It has character," Jack countered, grinning at the adventurous spirit of it all. "Besides, it's probably super cheap. We've got to at least check it out." With equal parts trepidation and excitement fueling them, they pulled up to the hostel. The wooden facade, painted a ghostly gray, weathered by time, appeared ready to collapse at any moment. Jack knocked on the door, and it creaked open with an unsettling groan. Inside, the atmosphere was thick and oppressive. Dim light bulbs flickered overhead, casting shadows that danced along the walls like specters of the past. An equally pale man, dressed in outdated clothing, stood behind the old reception desk, staring at them with an unsettling smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "Welcome, travelers, to Dracula's Hostel," he intoned, his voice smooth yet tinged with something dark. Sweeping glances exchanged among friends betrayed the discomfort filtering through them, but the excitement of adventure pushed them onward. They checked in, accepting heavy keys on metallic chains. "Room 13, the receptionist said, his smile unnaturally wide. "Great. Just great," Mike mumbled as they climbed the creaking staircase, each step echoing with their mounting anxiety. Room 13 revealed itself as a small, dimly lit space with faded wallpaper peeling at the seams, giving the impression of a rotting shell of its former self. The air held a strange energy, as if the very walls were holding their breath, waiting. "All right, let's ditch the creepiness and break out the cards," Jack proclaimed, pulling a deck from his bag in an attempt to lighten the mood. As they settled in, laughter began to fill the room, but it was short-lived. Strange sounds echoed through the halls, whispers that seemed to float on the chilled air and soft laughter that bubbled through the cracks of the floor. The energy shifted like smoke, and Lisa felt a shiver run down her spine. "Did you hear that?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's probably just the wind," Sarah said, attempting to sound brave, action masking her unease. But even she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Later that night, Sarah jolted awake, her heart pounding. A harsh scratching sound echoed outside the window was all it took for adrenaline to kick in. She peeked through the curtains, breath hitching in her throat. The moon's cold light illuminated a tall figure just beyond the treeline, cloaked in old-fashioned attire, its red eyes shimmering like the embers of a dying fire. "Sarah, are you okay?" Jack whispered, his voice laced with concern. "I saw something," she stammered, and before anyone could respond, the figure vanished, leaving only silence in its wake. In the morning, Sarah hesitated to share what she had seen, unsure of how her friends would react. Just as she feared, her recount was met with skepticism. However, unease hung in the air as they gathered. At breakfast, the dread of the unknown settling in. "Last night was so weird," Lisa admitted, her toast halfway to her mouth. "Did anyone else hear the whispers?" Just noises from an old building, Jack added dismissively, though a flicker of nervousness danced in his eyes. With the sun now high, they decided to explore the woods behind the hostel, hoping to distract their overactive imaginations. The trees grew thicker as they hiked deeper, a weighty silence settling in around them as conversations faded. Birds rarely sang here, and the atmosphere felt heavy, like the sky was holding its breath. Suddenly, they stumbled upon a hidden graveyard, ancient and forgotten, with headstones that were nearly swallowed by moss and vines. The names etched into the stones were barely readable, but the creepy atmosphere set off alarms in Lisa's head. "Ugh, it's like something straight out of a horror movie," she remarked, snapping pictures in spite of her trepidation. "Maybe this is Dracula's resting place," Mike joked, pointing to a particularly large tombstone adorned with a bat motif. "See, I told you it'd be a sign." Just as he spoke, a sudden chill swept through the graveyard, and they all felt it, a cold breath on the back of their necks. Sarah trembled, glancing nervously into the trees. "Let's get out of here," she urged. As they retraced their steps, Mike tried to lighten the mood. "Come on, it's just a graveyard. What's the worst that could happen?" But what they didn't realize was that something was watching them from the shadows, lurking between the trees, waiting for nightfall. Later that evening, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. The titular hostel creaked ominously, the walls whispering secrets that only the night could understand. Lights flickered as they took their seats, unease carving deeper into their minds to the stroke of midnight. Sarah jolted awake again, sensing a presence. The air was thick, almost suffocating, and she could feel the weight of unseen eyes watching. Turning in bed, she screamed. There it was, standing at the foot of her bed, the same cloaked figure from before, its blood red eyes piercing through the darkness. "Get away from me," she cried. But as swiftly as it appeared, the figure vanished, leaving behind an echo of cold dread. Panic ensued as her friends awoke, eyes wide with fear and confusion. "Did you see that?" Sarah gasped. Jack turned on the bedside lamp, its light flickering as if unsure it wanted to be on. "What just happened?" Lisa managed to say, her voice shaky. The shadows slid across the walls, dancing in a menacing rhythm. Determined to escape their growing horror, they rushed into the corridor, but every door they tried only opened to another long, narrow hallway. The building twisted like a labyrinth, and the walls felt like they were closing in. Desperate, they sprinted, the echoes of their footsteps swallowed by the growing darkness. Yet the shadows thickened around them, laughter seeping through the cracks, a confluence of whispers, promising safety if they would only surrender, glinted in the dim light. The harsh reality settled over them like a suffocating veil. "Run!" Jack shouted, and they darted away, frantic to find an exit. As they barreled through what they hoped was the main door, they stumbled into another chamber filled with cobweb-covered relics of a long-forgotten past, portraits that seemed to follow them with glaring eyes. Suddenly, shadows writhed in the corners, and laughter mingled with whispers, bending their minds to desperation. "We need to find a way out," Lisa screamed, fear etched in her features. "Over there," Sarah pointed, spotting a window almost entirely obscured by dust. "We'll have to climb." With adrenaline spurring them on, they hurriedly piled furniture against the wall, desperately creating a makeshift escape route before the shadows could claim them. Breathless, they clambered up, each second dragging on as they fought to make it out. Swinging open the window, the cool night air rushed in like a promise, and they could finally see the dark exterior of the hostel, the forest. Mike shouted, panic sweeping over them. "We have to go. Now." One by one, they squeezed through the window, hearts racing, the shadows looming ever closer. They leaped into the brush, accompanied by the sound of rustling leaves and pounding footsteps echoing in a frenzy. The soft earth welcomed their feet, yet relief was perilously short-lived as the shadows surged around them, whispering unintelligible words in the night air. The trees thickened, their gnarled branches standing sentinel, casting ominous shapes in the light of the moon. "Keep moving," Jack barked, urging the others onward, fingers gripping at branches as they delved deeper into the forest. The clenching anxiety in their chests clashed with the instinct to survive as they powered through the silence, every rustle becoming a threat. The laughter of something sinister rang through the woods, sending chills down their spines, but their escape was near. Morning began to break, rays of sunlight slicing through the trees as they stumbled to the base of a hill, hearts racing with newfound resolve. As they gathered their breaths, they turned to look back at the hostel, only to see it fading into the morning mist, an illusion, a trick of the light. Was that real? Lisa panted, disbelief etched across her features. "I don't know," Sarah replied, catching her breath, "but I don't think we should ever find out." They scrambled into their van, relief flooding through their veins amid familiarity. As they drove away, glancing back one last time, they saw the flickering sign still swaying, its light now dim. In the rearview mirror, the hostel dwindled into the distance, leaving behind haunting echoes and chilling shadows. Each of them felt the weight of the night's terror settle in their hearts. They agreed never to speak of their encounter again, each silently carrying the burden of their fear, a night filtered through a lens of dark wonder, weaving a bond between them that would always reflect the encounter. With every mile, whispers of that place would fade, yet they knew it would linger in their dreams, the shadows of Dracula's hostel haunting them always. And in that quiet town, shadows would continue to wait for new travelers, forever insatiable, forever hungry. As the sun rose behind them, it cast a warmth they deeply craved, balancing the dark imprint of the night with the promise of brighter days. Yet, hidden in the corners of their minds, they knew that they had crossed the threshold of something unexplainable, a reality where shadows danced and fears intertwined with their deepest instincts. They were changed, having tasted the darkness that lurked just beyond the light.